Is the Floating Cabana worth it at $3,500? Yikes. Yeah, that's a lot of money. I mean, $3,500 for a cabana, 1-day rental at Perfect Day at Cocoa Key at the Cocoa Beach Club is a lot of money. So is it worth the money? The answer is depends on you. It's the same. There are people that think paying for first class airfare is not worth it. There are people that think paying for Rolex watches is not worth it. Right now, there's an argument to be made that a Rolex watch will last you a heck of a lot longer than a day at the Floating Cabana, but it won't. But the Cabana, you probably get more use out of than a first class ticket. You get more offerings out of it. I mean, here's the thing to think about, Sharia. Number one, if you split the cost with a family or two, that can make it worthwhile. So remember, you can have there up to about, I think it's about 10 people or so, or 8 people or so. You can buy tickets for 2 more. If you do like 3 couples as an example, and the price really isn't that bad considering you're there all day long. But it's a lot of money especially because it used to cost about half of that was the usual price for it. So it's gone up there, and that's because of supply and demand. Basically, they were selling at the old price and they were selling out all the time. So Royal Caribbean was like, all right, let's try to bring up the price there. So listen, if it's a special occasion and you're looking to celebrate, you're looking to treat yourself, maybe it is worthwhile to you because you're saying, I deserve this. I want to have a great time. And, this is why I work so hard. This is why I earn the monies all the time, and go for it. Would I say that it's worth $3,500 every time for everybody? No, I don't think that's the case at all. That's a lot of money for a 1-day rental. But there are people that are going to be renting it. I guarantee you this. There will be people that absolutely pay for it. And when you're there, you're going to have a fantastic time. But I can't tell you that it is worth it for every single person. It's really just a matter of your finances, quite frankly. What do you think about the dining room menu they're testing on Symphony of the Seas? So if you haven't heard, on Symphony of the Seas beginning this week, they're testing a new main dining room menu that is a simplified menu. The classics. Remember the spaghetti bolognese, the chicken, the steak option that was there every single night? Those are no longer there. They've removed that from the menu. The lobster now has an additional charge on lobster night for the second lobster or more. You have to pay for each additional lobster. And the cost of the steak that always costs extra went up a couple dollars. But forget those things for a second. We're really talking about the fact that the main dining room menu itself is slimmer. There are less options than there were before. Now, I contacted Royal Caribbean, had an interesting conversation with them earlier today about this change. And what they're saying is they're testing out this change as a way to improve the guest experience. And you're saying, wait a minute, removing items from the menu is going to be a better experience. What they're saying is, among the many complaints, the issue they're trying to address is the speed in the dining room. And if you've been on a cruise ship, I know you're going to know what I'm talking about right here. That sometimes dinner in the main dining room is an hour, sometimes 90 minutes, sometimes it's 2.5 hours. And it really runs the gamut of reasons. And there's no pattern. There's no way to know when you sit down in the dining room, will your meal be an hour or 2 hours long? Now, we all have different opinions on how long is too long. Some people might say 30 minutes is too long. Some people might say 2 hours is too long. Anyway, so they're trying to address that problem. Now, on the one hand, I would definitely prefer if the main dining room was more predictable in that when you go there, it's pretty much going to be X amount of time. And I appreciate that they're trying to get that down to a more consistent option. I've been in the dining room many times in which you sat down, your appetizers come out almost immediately, and then it's like an hour until the entrees show up. Been there, done that, scratched my head, and then, been frustrated. That being said, I am not a fan of them getting rid of the classics. I understand the problem. I'm not sure personally that removing the classics from the menu is the right solution to it. I would have probably advocated they should simply redo the main dining room menu, and then whatever they come up with, that would be a more efficient menu to allow them to get to that goal. But this is not an easy problem to solve, and I am not privy to all the details and all that other stuff there. So it'll be an interesting test. They did say, Royal Caribbean, said they'll be listening to guest feedback from on board the ship. So if you're going on Symphony and this applies to you, definitely let them know one way or another how you feel about it. So again, I am not a fan, Brandon, of the fact that they are getting rid of the trim down the menu. I love the spaghetti bolognese personally, but I understand and I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I gotta experience it myself also. To be perfectly fair, I think it's one thing to see a change. Human beings do not like change, so it's one thing to see it on the internet. It's quite another to experience it, and I'd be curious to experience it myself to see how it actually flows in practice right there. So, can you tell us about how repricing works now with cruise confidence is over? Yeah. So, Michael, assuming you're a resident of the U.S. or Canada or some other countries, like this doesn't apply if you're from the UK or some other countries out there. But if you're a US citizen, basically you can reprice your cruise up until final payment date, no penalty, nothing like that. After final payment date, there's no price changes. Pretty much good to go there. Going on their first cruise on a Wonder Next. You've only been on Carnival so far. Any advice for newbies? Yeah, so a couple things you want to do, and I think by virtue of the fact you're already here in our live chat, you're probably doing some of these things. So if you're new to any cruise, whether it's Wonder of the Seas or Jewel of the Seas or Mariner, doesn't matter. Couple things. Number one, watch a tour video. We have some tours, including a full tour of Wonder of the Seas. That way you get a sense of the layout of the ship, what there is to do on board, etc. Number two, read a past cruise compass. The cruise compass is the daily newspaper. I forget what Carnival calls theirs, but it's a daily guide of activities. Read a past one from Wonder of the Seas. We have an archive of them at royalcaribbeanblog.com in our main menu. There's a link that says Cruise Compass. Click on that. You'll find Wonder of the Seas. And that'll give you a ballpark idea of what to expect. Number three, do your online check-in. Get all those things done with. Put in your passport information. Get a check-in time. Make it super simple. And number four or five, I don't know what I'm up to now. See all the shows. All the shows are worth doing. They're really, really good. I think you'll like that quite a bit. Why aren't there Caribbean cruises out of Boston like there is from New Jersey? Essentially, in market number one, New Jersey's closer to the Caribbean, so it's obviously going to be a longer ride. And Americans like 7-night cruises, Clint. They don't like longer cruises because that's all they get time off for. So that's more or less the reason. Boston is not a traditionally large cruise port, or doesn't have a large cruise presence. There are seasonal cruises there, but unlike the New York area, there's just never been traditionally as many ships there. So, to quote Fiddler on the Roof, tradition, more than anything. What do you guess the Pearl will do on Icon of the Seas? They've said it is a kinetic experience, Lucho. And they haven't gone into too much detail. They said they're going to provide more detailed information later on. But basically, if you look in the Pearl, this is Icon of the Seas, the big orb-looking thing. The panels there can move and change. And my guess, and emphasis on the word guess, is that there will be, whether it is an organized show, like you go in there and you watch things happen, or it is more sporadic, like Josh Carruthers walks in there and it starts, the New York Yankees logo appears and they start singing New York, New York. Tony Diaz goes in there and there's a picture of me on the wall. I don't know. I don't know how that works or what that experience will be like. But something will happen in there. We'll have to see. Looking at a 2-bedroom grand suite on Mariner of the Seas. How do you book more than 4 people in the stateroom? You call your travel agent. So, in some cases, there are rooms that are unavailable to book online. And regardless if you can book them online or not, Carrie, book with a travel agent. They can help you out with that. But that's definitely something you can take care of there. Is it safe to fly out on disembarkation day for flights at 3 p.m.? Oh yeah, that's fine. No, flying out the day your cruise ends is fine. Generally speaking, Steven, depending on the port, how far it is from the airport, I generally tell people, any time after about noon or later is totally fine for flying out, right? You can make an argument about earlier than that, but that's a 3 p.m. flight. When your cruise ends, you'll have plenty of time. You'll be bored at the airport, quite frankly. So, yeah, you'll have plenty of time there. Unless, of course, your airport is like a couple hours away. Like if your cruise ended in Fort Lauderdale and you're driving to Orlando to pick up a flight over there. I don't know why you would do that, but yeah. When do they decorate for the holidays? The earliest they'll decorate is Thanksgiving week. It'll always be decorated at least after Thanksgiving, but right around, give or take, like plus or minus a couple days around Thanksgiving, either the week of or right after Thanksgiving. But by the time Thanksgiving is over, the next sailing they'll have it on there for sure. And I hope you all have a great week. Next week, we will be coming to you live from Odyssey of the Seas. Odyssey of the Seas. We'll be live over there. Can't wait for that. In the meantime, have a great week, everybody. If I don't talk to you before then, happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk again very soon, right here on YouTube. Have a great night, everyone.